Facebook.
There we go. There we go. All
Yeah.
right, family. So let's get everything started. Also, if you're watching the video on Facebook, please hit the like button. Please share the video. If you're watching the video on my Facebook, on my YouTube page, which is Melanated Fathers TV, please share the video, like it. The algorithm and all of those technical things are definitely important. We want to, get the viewership up as high as we can, just so we can have the maximum amount of impact on our community. So let's go,
Yes.
Cherene. Let's go to the first story, man. Let's get this thing
Indeed.
popping.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. First story out of my hometown. Something that happened in, how social media is, right? We talk about everything, like the little niche Black community on social media. For the most part, when things happen to us, whether people are genuine or not, people share things and you see a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is a story that we didn't see much about. You know what I mean? I didn't see it to maybe a couple days after it happened. So basically, what took place, a brother by the name of Willie Brown Jr., right, was found hanging from a basketball rim located on the courts of Countryside Park in South Sacramento, where I'm from. An unnamed witness said they discovered him around 8:30 a.m. on August 19th. Now, a little bit about Willie Brown Jr. He's a father of four. The brother actually spent like 8 days on a breathing machine, and on Monday, surrounded by his family and friends, and a procession of medical professionals paying their respects, he was taken off of life support, right? And something else
Right.
that I wanted to mention that my sister Cherene brought to my attention. So this is the situation with the brother. His family is looking at this a little awkward. They're not sure if it's actually a hanging based on how quick the police closed the case, based
Right.
on the fact that all they found there was a knife in his phone. Like, I would think if you string yourself up, there's going to be more material around you that shows that you strung yourself up. You know what I mean? And,
Exactly.
just in this country, because we're going to talk a minute about other brothers that was found in this same situation. But one thing
Exactly.
that's important that I want everybody to know, it's difficult if you're a Black person in this country and you understand our history and you're compassionate about our issues. It's difficult to see things happen a particular way and it not trigger you. You see a
Right.
Black person get hung in America, he did it, it was an accident, however it happened. Most of us, our first inclination is going to be, okay, who hung the brother? What
Right.
actually happened to him, right?
Right.
What do
Right.
you what do you feel about that, Cherene?
Yeah, going back to Willie Brown Jr. again, you talked about him being hung from an actual basketball court, which is a little bit different from the other brothers that we're going to talk about. They were
Mm-hmm.
found hanging on trees.
Mm.
Okay, so very the likeliness of basically the parallel from them being hung on trees takes you immediately to the history of Black women, Black men and women being
Mm-hmm.
hung on trees. So that there's a symbolic, part of the fact
Mm-hmm.
that a Black man is hanging himself on trees. We'll get back to that. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
man was actually found hung on a basketball court and on a where you shoot the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned,
Now,
Harrison, there was a knife found there, and I believe his wallet.
mm-hmm.
When the police did come, it says that basically Station 51 arrived on the scene in Sacramento immediately once someone did alert them of this horrific scene, and when they did come, they immediately put the knife and the wallet
The
in the
phone.
vehicle. Now
Mm.
what is left out in that story is I'm not too sure if they had gloves on.
Mm.
I'm not too sure if they preserved the you know what word I'm talking about here.
The crime scene, yeah.
Exactly. Did you preserve the actual knife?
Mm-hmm.
How did you grab it? That part, as you know, because you've researched it as well, they haven't talked about that. So if you
Mm-hmm.
did not do that, you already messed up the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's already not going to be a factual crime scene because you contaminated that.
You tainted the evidence.
You
Definitely,
tainted the
definitely.
evidence. And when people spoke to his family, this man is only 38 years young. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he's only 38 years young. His family said that he was energetic, that he worked hard, and that he was fun. They said they had no indication of him having any type of mental illness, any type of depression. So that's what makes it a little bit fishy. So
Definitely.
these are things we have to look at, and you were going to get further into that, like you said. I can name 5 men within since June that have been
Mm,
hung by trees. One
mm,
Latino, one Latino.
mm.
So we're going to get back to that, but they were hung on trees. This what makes this one so different to me is how he hung himself at a basketball court. So our question becomes: we know the who the person is, right? We don't know the why, and we don't know who did it, and that becomes
Hmm.
a problem for me because how can you automatically rule it suicide when there's no proof?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And something else I want to touch on that you hit me to the other day, as far as the likeliness of a black man to hang himself in America. A study conducted by the National Center of Biotechnology Information over a 10-year
Exactly.
span, there was a 52% increase in suicide by hanging. Even with that increase, this is important to note, even with that increase, the statistics show that hangings make up 3.1% of reported suicides overall. Yet placing a sharper focus on the statistics, studies show that black men are 60% less likely to kill themselves than non-black men. And hanging is not a preferred method. Now, am I saying
Exactly.
that to say the brother couldn't hang himself? Not
Right.
at all. It's just not fucking likely. You know what I
It's
mean?
not. It's not.
It's just not a likely method that we actually use to harm ourselves. Now, the investigation was closed. It looks like since then, because of the the family not being okay with what's going on, it seems like the case has been reopened. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely hoping that they reopen the case. I'm hoping that they look deeper into it because they kind of threw it off to the side real quick like that. And unfortunately, again, excuse me, being a black man in America, every time there's the scent of injustice, because sometimes we don't see it directly.
Right.
Even when there's the scent of injustice, I'm always going to be on alert because I don't trust this country. I hope,
Exactly.
Cherene, I get to a point where I can watch the news, where I can see a news report about our people and take that shit at face value. But unfortunately, in America, you will be a fool to approach any of these instances in that manner. Now, something else you brought up, because again, the brother, this situation looks awkward. Like there could have been some foul play or somebody could have
Exactly.
helped him or something. However, me and Cherene was talking, and there's a brother out of the Bay Area. I want you to talk about that, Cherene. The brother Malcolm Harsh.
Okay. Malcolm Harsh, wasn't he in Southern Cal?
Yes.
Okay. So Malcolm Harsh was another 38-year-old man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His circumstances are a little bit different. Basically, he was living in a homeless shelter.
Mm-hmm.
He came out here because his basically the mother of his children was out here. He had goals and dreams to say, you know what, I want to be a better dad. Just like how you talked
Mm-hmm.
about, I wasn't the best dad all the time. So he came out and he had this dream and goal that I'm going to do good. I'm going to be a good dad. I'm going to be with my children. However, he ended up homeless. So basically, he was found, and I'll get the exact date on that in a second. He was found. His name. Did we say his name yet?
Yes.
Malcolm
Malcolm Harsh.
Harsh.
He was found on May
May
31st.
31st. Yes, 50 miles from Victorville.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what happened in this case, which is very, very rare, and I applaud the family. I applaud them because they did not just allow someone to immediately classify his death as a suicide. They did not. They said, "Oh no, we need to see what's going on. This doesn't make any sense. Why would Malcolm hang himself on for everybody to see on a tree?" So then the police did open that up. They reviewed the case and actually allowed the family to review the video.
Mm.
Now, when you have a black family that reviewed a video and they come to the conclusion that yes, indeed, it was a suicide, we have to trust our people with that, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so many people videotaping everything else, right? And we're looking at it and we see, no, that's not right. Even talking about George Floyd, that doesn't make any sense. So if something's truth, we tell the truth. We don't just lie about, oh, George Floyd got murdered. He didn't do nothing. He really didn't do anything to deserve to get killed right there in front of all those people. So they reviewed the tape, they saw it with their own eyes, and the whole family has come to the conclusion that he indeed did kill himself. Now that's still the odds of that happening these 5 times since June are not likely. It just doesn't make any sense. You have to think about the history of our Black people. You have to think about the whole idea that lynching was done in a way to humiliate us, right? In a way to make us feel like we are nothing, that we are worthless. So you have to think about that and ask yourself, why would this be the way that these Black men are choosing to kill themselves?
Exactly.
Why would that be the situation? But in this case, with Mr. Harsh, he indeed, based on the family and the videotape, he did indeed commit suicide. I would have to get more details. They didn't say that they saw him walk up and do all the stuff. Basically, just when they sat there and they analyzed it and they did their research and you know, they checked and all that good stuff. Basically, it leads up to the truth, and the truth is that he did commit suicide. So we have to keep in mind that does happen. But how many times is it really happening?
Yeah, see, and I like the fact that you brought up that point, because I come on here a lot and I talk about what's being done to us.
Right.
Like, I'm always going to be a big advocate for my people. I'm going to speak for people who don't want to speak or can't speak. But
right.
at times, we need to realize that sometimes we do stuff to ourselves. Sometimes we do have to call our people to the table. Sometimes we need to look at a situation and say, well, nah, it didn't quite happen like that. Even when, because even with the Malcolm Harsh situation, I'm sure after people seen what his parents said in the video that came out, but before that, all of us were up in arms like, wait a minute, that's not making no sense. We coupled that in with the other situations that we've seen. So it's important that at times we take these individual situations and make our assessment based on what we've seen. And if we get information that proves us wrong, this is something I'm learning big, Cherene, as I get in this space where I speak to people and I speak in like a matter of fact way, right? If I get new information that proves that I'm wrong, like I told y'all some bullshit last week, I'm going to come on here and be like, hey, last week, I got to retract that.
Let me correct myself.
None of us can be, because I'm not on here to get clicks and views, meaning I'm not going to say no outlandish shit just so people can like the video, just so they can come on. I don't want to be salacious at all. I want to be honest and speak my truth. And if I stumble across information that's incorrect, or I read into something that's incorrect, we need to correct that. So, you know what I mean? I pray for Willie Brown Jr. and his family. I seen a video of how they, when they took the brother off of the breathing machines, they kind of walked him into this room. This is horrible, man. This is horrible. The brother got 4 kids. So at the end of the day, if he did it to himself, if he didn't do it to, however it happened, it's a horrible situation, and his kids and his family have to deal with this for a long time, right? So shout out to his family, man, and I hope they can find a way to get through this. You feel me?
Yeah, indeed. And I hope they get the resources, and I hope that they get the necessary help that they need. When people die a regular death, the grieving process is already so robust, right? Everybody handles it differently, but it takes you down pretty much for the rest of your life. You never forget it, right?
Yeah.
So when someone gets murdered, same type of thing. But when someone kills themselves, can you imagine the pain that they actually feel like, what did I do wrong? Now, in regard to the Black men hanging themselves, and just Black people hanging themselves, and how we react as Black people, it has a lot to do with what's going on right now. It has a lot to do with the systemic racism that we live with day to day, the institutionalized oppression that we live with day to day, COVID, police brutality. So when things like this happen, we're already at a heightened level of mental health that isn't at the best, because we are constantly getting beat down. This is day to day, every day for years.
Yep.
So
Yep.
a lot of their mourning is going to be something. Is going to be more hard because of what they already deal with day to day. They have to
Mm-hmm.
ask themselves: did this play a part in him killing himself? Was he really depressed? And I'll go into more about that. But I told you about the rise in mental health issues amongst Black
Mm-hmm.
people since George Floyd
COVID.
and since
Yeah, and
COVID.
COVID.
There's
Mm-hmm.
a between about, depending on the study, 41 to 51% raise in mental health issues amongst Black people. And we can
Hmm.
get more into that when you're ready. But the fact of it is now they're going to suffer. What's
Mm-hmm.
next? What's next?
Definitely, definitely. Now, we'll move on to the next story.